College students all over the country deal with the same things: homework, tests, and social life. But as Fox 5's Aaron Campbell found out, there's something nearly all of them are missing.
I haven't got time to waste sleeping. Too many other things to do.
It's an age-old problem that transcends generations.
I don't know one college student that gets enough sleep. My own fault that I don't get enough sleep at night. I would say probably 5.5 hours of sleep. I know.
Probably could sleep a couple more hours a night.
According to the National Institutes of Health, only 11% of students report having good sleep, while 73% report sleep problems.
I personally don't think that we get enough sleep. I think that we have a lot of things that we're required to do with school, extracurriculars, community service, and things like that, and it's really hard to balance all of those things.
If it's important for a student to get a good GPA, then they're going to have to think about, how do I budget my time? Because there's always going to be plenty to do.
Many students believe that if they cram a few extra hours of studying in for a test before they go to bed, that it will help them retain information. However, that is not the case.
They think they do better than they actually do. If they would just go to sleep, they could consolidate the learning they already have, and they'd be able to do better on the test the next day.
The average college student gets anywhere from 5 to 7 hours of sleep each night. However, national studies show that that number should be anywhere from 8 to 9 hours.
With college, there's just a lot that you kind of have to shove into every day, and that means you have to give something up, and a lot of times sleep is what people give up.
So how can these night owl college students improve their sleeping habits? Well, doctors recommend turning off electronics 1 hour before bedtime, planning for homework and tests 1 week in advance, and better time management. In Springfield, Aaron Campbell, Fox 5 News.
Life for Abby Vandenbroek is always a rush. She's not at the office yet, but her workday has already begun. For the busy Toronto publicist, it never seems to stop.
There's a lot of adrenaline a lot of the time because there's things that are really time sensitive and deadline driven, so it's like really go, go, go. I work through breakfast and lunch and sometimes dinner. And when we're really busy, I can work sometimes, 9 a.m. to 1 or 2 in the morning. Even if I'm at an event after work from 6 until 9, I'm usually flipping through work email while I'm there or posting about it. Sometimes clients will text me if I haven't responded to an email fast enough. I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety about it. I belong to a gym, but I usually go maybe, I don't think I've been for a week and a half. I used to play Frisbee, but I quit because I kept missing games.
Abby purchased a yoga mat, and it sat unopened above her desk for more than a year.
Tired of trying to do it all, in 2014, Abby wants change. And she's not alone. More and more young professionals share the same struggle.
I see a lot of young professionals who come to me because they're trying to do too much with too little time. They just feel they're constantly running and there's no downtime, there's no time for them. One of the things that helps to lower stress levels is learning to say no. Make a list of the things that take up substantial amounts of your time and look at which of those you can cut back a little on. And anytime you take on something new, make sure you take something off your list.
She also says knowing when to disconnect is crucial.
I usually advise people to restrict their email to certain times of the day so that they're not constantly on guard.
It's especially important before going to bed, since a good night's sleep is key to a successful workday.
The kinds of things that help people to get a decent night's sleep are to avoid stressful activities immediately before they go to bed and to try and keep your mind off work, to think about pleasant things before you go to sleep.
In addition, this expert says we should save for our health the way we save for our retirement.
Investing now in healthy behaviors will keep us well into our older years in terms of being fit, free of heart disease, free of diabetes, keeping blood pressure under control, maybe avoiding cancer and keeping our brain sharper.
He says part of that is making healthy choices.
Sometimes we eat very mindlessly. We reach for whatever is close or convenient. We forget what it's actually like to feel well.
Another place to start is the gym. But if that doesn't work, there are many other ways to stay active.
Getting off on that January, join a club and just get crazy active really doesn't work. So getting out and playing games, learning how to roller skate, play tennis, these sorts of things make fitness a natural part of life. We have enough work. We need more fun in our lives. I think for people who are confined to office spaces for the most part, build in some breaks during that day, having a resistance band at your desk and using that during your breaks or some free weights.
He also says apps and social media can go a long way.
put something out there for your network and say, I promise to do this, help me along the journey, help me stay accountable.
For Abby, the advice seems to be working. She's already taking steps toward a healthier life.
This episode of D News is brought to you by the Toyota Corolla. Let's lead the way. Oh my gosh, I am so stressed. Oh my god. Oh gosh, this is the worst. Oh, I think I'm gonna throw up. Hey guys, Julia here for D News. Stress is really awful for your body. You know when you get scared, embarrassed, or anxious, your face flushes and you get all hot and sweaty? Well, this is called a psychogenic fever. Your body temperature actually increases when you're stressed. It's warming up the muscles in case you need to get the hell out of Dodge. Most of the short-term effects of stress are the result of this fight or flight response. The adrenal gland, which sits on top of your kidneys, releases the hormones in response to some stressor. This in turn releases glucose into your bloodstream to power you up, ready to take on a threat. It suppresses your digestion and immune system to save energy for hightailing it away from like a bear or something. But nowadays, we aren't threatened so much by bears, but school, work, and family matters stress us out just the same. All of those good things that those hormones do to save us from bears do bad things to us when we're faced with chronic stressors we can't run away from. One of the hormones, cortisol, is called the stress hormone, and it does a lot of different things. It can affect your blood pressure, metabolism, and immune reactions like inflammation. Basically, chronic stress makes your body continually release cortisol. Normally, this hormone keeps inflammation in check, but after a while, your cells get burnt out and become less receptive to the hormone. Inflammation then kind of runs amok and causes its own host of problems. Inflammation can lead to heart disease and obesity, and is now being implicated in some mental health disorders like depression and anxiety. Inflammation can also damage your DNA. The study, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, found that stress damages your telomeres. Telomeres are often compared to that plastic tip on your shoelaces. They sit on the ends of your chromosomes to keep them from unraveling. As cells divide and DNA replicates, these telomeres shorten throughout your life, eventually leading to cell death. The erosion of telomeres is a pretty good indicator of someone's health. Smokers often have shorter telomeres than non-smokers, for example. In this study, the researchers found that displaced Indian villagers had shorter telomeres than other villagers who didn't go through the stress of relocating, which is similar to other studies on the effects of stress on telomeres. But it's not just having your entire village moved. The American Psychological Association found that Americans are most stressed about work, money, and the economy. Does this sound like you? If you're chronically stressed, there is some hope. Being socially connected helps. One study, published in the journal Social and Personality Psychology Compass in 2011, found that people who have supportive, close relationships have lower levels of systemic inflammation compared to those people who have cold, unsupportive, and conflict-ridden relationships. Some studies show that mindfulness-based practices like yoga and meditation can reduce stress. Being mindful means you accept each moment as it is without judgment. Seeing something as neither good or bad, it just is. And it's really hard to do. It definitely takes some training, but it's worth it. One study published in the Annals of Behavioral Medicine reaffirmed previous studies that mindfulness decreases distress and increases quality of life.
A 2015 report by a Youth Employment Coalition revealed that 1 in 3 people between the ages of 15 and 29 are currently unemployed and not in school. In total, that amounts to about 600 million youths worldwide, and that number is only expected to grow. With a severe recession, limited opportunity, and fewer jobs, we wanted to know, how bad is this unemployment crisis, and why can't young people find work? While unemployment is a global issue that affects people of all ages, the situation is considerably worse for young people. Over the next decade, young people will have more difficulty finding a job than any other age group or any previous generation of youths. The International Labor Organization reports that youth unemployment is around 13%, nearly 3 times that of their older counterparts. According to the report, it will take the creation of 5 million new jobs every month just to keep youth unemployment rates where they are today. In the next 10 years, less than half of 1 billion job seekers are expected to actually find work. Clearly, this situation is terrible, not only for young people, but the world economy as a whole. So how did it get this bad? Well, the most glaring reason was the 2008 global recession. Although unemployment rates have begun to stabilize for adults, young employees who are more likely to hold temporary, part-time, and non-specialized jobs have found it difficult to keep up. Additionally, the recession forced many older workers to postpone their retirement and many overqualified adults to take on jobs which are usually given to college or high school grads. This severe strain on the job market has left most young people with fewer options. Even jobs which don't require much skill have become overwhelmingly competitive. Some have attributed the shrinking youth workforce to higher rates of education. However, in some countries like the United States, this has led to an oversaturation of degrees and made it even harder to find work. In other countries, a lack of education is exactly what prevents most teens and young adults from entering the job market. The ILO reported that nearly a third of people in low-income countries have no applicable education whatsoever, while upper middle-income countries only see about 2% of their population uneducated. Youth unemployment around the world has huge consequences for the global economy. Young employees subsidize social services through taxation, but often don't use them until they're older. The lack of a young workforce means that there will be fewer experienced employees in the future, which can lead to economic stagnation. Youth unemployment also removes valuable consumers from the market and slows the economy through inactivity. Some countries have already seen this cycle destroy their way of life, like in Greece, which faced 58% youth unemployment in 2013. Although many solutions have been proposed, ranging from post-capitalist automation to reinvestment of wealth, there is no question that having a young, unemployed generation is
When it comes to having an adult child move back home, it's always wise to look at it as another phase of parenting. We're used to thinking in terms of our parenting job to be over when the kid goes off to college and they automatically become an adulthood. We're actually living in an economic age where it's much, much more difficult for young adults to establish themselves economically where they can live on their own. So, because it takes longer for them to establish themselves, they're going to have to move home most often through their 20s to start saving money or start figuring out how to earn a living sufficient enough for either to support their eventual family or to support themselves. To look at this as an extension of parenting means that I start working with my adult child in a collaborative way. In other words, I start saying to them, you're not going to pay me rent, because that's kind of crazy for you to live at home and pay me rent just to learn some kind of responsibility. What's better for me is for you and I to sit down and set some goals, and for me to teach you how to act as an adult in my house. That means taking on some of the responsibilities that run the household. That may be contributing to the household income, not paying rent, but contributing to the household income in meaningful ways. It may mean that I help my adult child out in terms of gaining some education or some skill training. It may be that I teach him or her how to be responsible to pay the bills. But whatever it is, I'm doing it as a training ground, partnership with my adult child to help them move into the next phase. It doesn't have to be something that we dread, but it probably is a new phase of the job of parenting.